Hey book friends, what's up? How's it going? Thanks for stopping by for today's video. Today's video is another one by one of my favorite authors. I could talk forever about this book and her other books. I've done several videos on several of her books. And the funny thing is, I'm not all the way through her backlist. Like her backlist, I'll be reading her forever, which I'm so happy about. If you're new here, I would love for you to consider subscribing and give the video a thumbs up if you like it. Come hang out with us here regularly. I do videos like this. I pop in some other fun bookish videos, so stick around. I actually have, you guys are going to be so proud of me. I'm using the lights today that my husband gave me for Christmas. I think it's going to be a work in progress. I realized like I had them too close to me, and I should probably just ask him how to use them because he knows all about this kind of stuff. So without further ado, let's get to talking about today's book, which is Until Jude by KL Shandwick. It's the first book in her Pulsetune Rock Gods series. I had to say that 3 times before I actually got it right. It's the beginning of a new series though. How exciting is that? Okay, first of all, can we take a gander at the cover? When I saw the cover, I was like, oof, okay. And then I really liked the cover. And then when I started reading the book, here's the thing. I love how KL writes. There is something really intentional and really beautiful about how she develops the characters and the story. I'll talk a little bit more about that further into the video, but I saw the cover, I heard the title, and I was like, I think I'm gonna love Jude, and boy, did I. Until Jude is about Jude and Esther. Jude is, I think, in his late 20s when the book starts. He is the drummer for a very famous, world-renowned rock band called the Screaming Shadows. He is kind of, I was going to say the dad of the group, but that's not really maybe the best way to describe a sexy rock god. But he's the guy that he's the glue that holds everyone together. The front man is Levi. I do believe that the next book is going to be about Levi. And then there's there's Corey and Joe. Jude just kind of is like the guy, he's alpha, but he's not like domineering alpha. He's just living his life. He makes good decisions for the most part, but they do party hard and they do live the Rockstar lifestyle. And that comes to a little bit of a screeching halt when Levi gets contacted by a social services agency saying that they are contacting him because he's been listed as guardian for Esther, and he has no idea who Esther is. Turns out that Esther is his half-sister who he knew nothing about. And she's 17 and her mom has died. We know that Levi's parents have both died. So basically Levi's on his own, except he's super tight with Jude and Jude's family. And then Esther at 17 is alone and has nobody. So in order for her not to become a ward of the state, she knew about Levi, she put his name down, and they have come to find him. She needs guardianship until she turns 18, she's 17 at the time. So it's not like it's a long period of time. However, she is quite accomplished in her life already. Her mom left her in a good financial shape. She has been accepted to Juilliard. She wants to be a professional dancer. She's a smart girl. She just needs someone to be with, an adult, until she can go off to school. I really connected to Esther right away. What a position to be put in, And here she is, she feels bad. I could feel her emotions so easily, and especially combined, obviously, with the way Kelly was writing them. I I felt really bad for her. I was emotional for her. My mama bear came out. The guys decide, okay, fine, like she can come on tour with us. They have their assistant Bernadette who's with them, so there'll be another female around, and she just kind of has to go with the flow. Levi and Jude are best friends since childhood. You really felt their bond, and they understand each other and have like a major, like solid brotherly relationship. Levi, being the front man, is often out doing a lot more PR and stuff for the band. So Jude took it upon himself to be like, okay, listen, like I'm around more. You know, I can keep an eye on her. Don't worry. You got to do your thing for the band. Like, it's okay. Like, don't worry. I've got it. He steps up to help when Levi like really can't. And Esther and Jude form this bond. It's funny because the social worker says, which made me chuckle out loud, she says, gosh, this is definitely a first and is one for the books, handing a female minor into the care of a famous rock star on tour. But that's what happens. Esther and Jude have this immediate connection because he steps in and is like kind of trying to help Levi with the situation, not only when they first meet, but also through the book. She takes one look at him and she's like, oh my God, like I knew my brother was famous, my half brother. You know, I knew about his band and I always had a crush on Jude, but oh my God, I didn't. She's confused by her feelings. Why? She immediately feels safe and taken care of when Jude is around. This is what Esther says about Jude. When he turned his head to look in our direction, I felt both awestruck and immensely overwhelmed by my situation again. Shame had been added to my grief in the previous 3 days since my best friend's family had been so kind and I'd embarrassed them by social service refusing to let me live there. Being placed in such a humiliating position where the half-brother Can you hear Macy? Sorry. Being placed in such a humiliating position where the half-brother I'd never met had likely been guilt-tripped into guardianship of me had felt more than a little uncomfortable. Yet as I stood there staring at Jude Collymore, the 100 negative emotions swirling through me were momentarily pushed back by my fangirl feelings for the drummer in my half-brother's band. My palms immediately began to sweat. I quickly ran them down the sides of my coat and curled my fingers into fists to stop me from reaching out to touch him. When he offered his hand, I took it. Then I became more than a little breathless when my heart skittered up my throat in response to his strong, possessive grip. Sparks of excitement ignited randomly within my body when a burning rush of desire coursed right through me. When Jude gave my hand a small squeeze, he may as well have been holding my heart because it simultaneously clenched as well and almost pounded its way out of my chest. I focused on how protected my hand felt in his until the feel of it centered me. But my concentration waned again when he spoke in a friendly, low, gruff voice. He sounded nothing like the broody, hell-raising band dude I'd fawned over for years. In the few seconds that followed, every worry that had played in my mind stalled. An instant relief from the awkwardness of my situation washed over me. With each second Jude held my hand, I grew calmer until I forgot to breathe as I stood staring in his eyes. The next breath I took had felt cleansing, and for a second or two, nothing else mattered, except that I breathed the same air as Jude Collymore. So now here's the thing. Esther, it's apparent that Esther, and she talks about it, had this major crush on Jude. And what I want you to understand, and this is not that kind of Rockstar romance, because it's a KL Shandwick Rockstar romance. Yes, there are moments where Esther fangirls and is like, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But really, those are few and far between in a lot of ways because of the way their story is written and because of the connection they have. Jude feels it too, but because, like I mentioned, he's kind of like the head of the group, his personality lends to wanting to take care of people. He is nurturing, even if he's like a bad boy rock star, right? He does have that nurturing spirit within him. He is like that with Levi. He's like that with his own sister. He's just the guy that kind of works to make things okay for everybody that he loves. And by way of Levi, Esther became in that circle for him. Esther's appreciation of Jude very quickly moves beyond this like young crush that she had. Her life has been completely altered. She has a maturity about her, and it starts to move into these other feelings where she's still innocent in a lot of ways. And so she's never reacted to a man like she's reacting to Jude before. And let me tell you, we could feel all that. Yes, she had stars in her eyes, but she also had all these feelings rushing through her. And I loved the way Kelly wrote all that. I felt it right along with her. This is one of those moments. It's from Esther's point of view. He tipped his head to the side behind his shades like he was observing me, and I bit back a smile as an immediate charge of electricity surged through my body. A small thrill ran down my spine, which grew more pronounced with each step I took towards him. While I fought to keep my breath even, I casually dumped my cell phone on the table beside his, ran across to the pool, and dived into the water. By then, my heart had almost beat out of my chest, and I thought I heard him say Jesus under his breath. Because Jude, even though he's a good guy, he is not blind. She's a beautiful girl, and he's feeling it too. This is what he says. She appeared oblivious to the fact that she was stunning as she stood casually chatting, like she had no idea of the effect she was having on me. Clearing my suddenly dry throat, I felt more than a little perturbed at the way my, had betrayed me and twitched in my pants, and my heart had unwillingly raced as I took her in. A sudden, unwanted surge of desire and adrenaline coursed through my body, and although I tried to distract myself with my cell phone, my heart had raced at the presence of her. Jude is totally aware of the fact that she's where she is in life, what has happened to her, what has brought her to them, and how he has embraced her as Levi's sister. But he's also aware of his need inside him to protect her. He was there for her in so many ways that was just naturally organic to his personality, but also they like each other. This book was not a let's wait till she's 18 and then I can swoop in story. There was more of a recognition that they're both in different places in their lives, and him being the older guy, he is not going to step in the way of her being able to live her life to her full potential. He sees her as like at the beginning of her life. She's going to go to Juilliard. She's going to be successful. She's got dreams. She's got plans. And he himself is not going to stand in the way of that. He feels like if they started any kind of relationship when it was appropriate for them, he would be holding her down. He doesn't want that for her. He wants everything for her that's out there. He wants her to live her life, and his life doesn't mix with that. I loved that about him. I really did. They organically started to build a really deep friendship. They become such an important person to each other without sex being involved, even though they are 100% completely attracted to each other. He stands his ground and he doesn't touch her. That doesn't mean that he doesn't want to. That doesn't mean that you don't feel their tension. Oh my God, you feel their tension in spades. Oh my God. It was angsty. It was warm and fuzzy. It was sensitive. It was explosive. In a lot of ways, he's pining for her, but he doesn't really realize he is, because he's so keeping himself in check. There are so many tender moments between them that have nothing to do with sex, even though you know that that's burning in the background, that showed me their depth of feeling for one another, and it was so believable. This is from Jude's perspective. But there was no denying, the more time we spent together, the more time I found myself thinking about her when I wasn't with her. There was just something about her, something intriguingly contradicting about her funny, innocent, and sassy attitude. And despite her age and what she'd been through, I'd never met anyone like her. In short, she fascinated me. And then a little bit later, Esther was gorgeous, a knockout, and she oozed that certain feminine sex appeal that had always attracted me to a girl. But at 18 to my 29, she was untouchable. But that hadn't stopped me from giving her a special place in my affections. I wanted the best for her future, and I certainly wasn't the best. She was in a league of her own and deserved a great guy who adored her, someone who'd romance her, make mushy playlists, and all the same romantic shit I had done for the girls in my life when I was her age. Oh, see what I mean? Like, that brings tears to my eyes. I loved him. And then a little bit later, and I have to admit that this kind of broke my heart, and it's from Jude's perspective. That feeling you have about me right now, that ball of anger in your belly, I asked, remember it and the thoughts that are floating through your mind, labeling me an arrogant bastard, or that how cocky and self-absorbed I am. Hang on to them because your head and your gut aren't wrong. I'm not good to women, with women, and I can't be all you need because I've had years of using them for my own satisfaction. Jude, she protested, I'm serious. You only need to look at my track record to verify that. Mel, Georgie, and there were plenty of others before them. Go to college, find a nice guy that'll treat you right. He'll no doubt make you his queen, and then you'll be thankful we had this conversation and that I did the right thing. Esther began to cry, and my arms ached to comfort her. For the first time in my life, I felt I was being deliberately cruel. And although my heart clenched with pity for what I'd done from the look on her face, I felt certain I'd done enough to push her away and to let her move on with her life. All of that killed me because I wanted to know, was it going to be unrequited through the whole book? Whew. I didn't know where we were going. I was not sure. And then Jude said this. It wasn't unusual for me to want something I couldn't have, but since I'd met Esther, she'd been the only girl I ever wanted that I hadn't allowed myself to have. Okay. Their relationship did take a turn that was completely unexpected in this book, and it added this whole new layer to them because all of a sudden they find themselves kind of back around each other and realizing not only did they survive without each other for 3 years, but that they never wanted to be like that again. Esther has lived those 3 years, and he can see that on her face, but he also feels, as does she, the same connection. And then there was the build. But the turn that they took cemented, to me, in a really beautiful way, the way Kelly writes it, the vulnerability that they both feel around each other and with each other, the intimacy that they feel, and the trust that they feel. She solidified that with Jude stepping into a role and helping her with some things. And if you've read the book, you know what I'm talking about, and I'm not going to go into detail about it. I've never read anything like this. To me, it was kind of out of left field, but then I totally understood why Kelly wrote it that way. It made me fan myself. It made me swoon over Jude. It made me feel so much and connect with Esther even more. It was so beautiful and so torturous at the same time. And when he allowed himself to acknowledge, oh crap, I was like, yes! I was so happy. This book is definitely slow burn. Definitely angsty, but so worth it. The next book in the series will be Until Levi, which is Esther's brother. Cannot wait for that one. Levi is complicated. I really liked Levi in this book. Levi has some baggage that I think will be interesting to unpack, so stay tuned for that. I can't wait to read that one. Let me know if you have read Until Jude or which of Kelly's other books you've read. You know I always love to hear. Thanks for hanging out with me today, guys. I will see you very soon. Bye.